30 to 50% of people are introverts, but most of what's out there, it's like it assumes that you're an extrovert. And there are also misconceptions about what it means to be an introvert, too. It can be common for where you might not say very much, and all of a sudden, when you speak up in a room, people turn around and look at you. So that can work for our advantage, too.
Welcome to Marketing and Mindset for Wellness Coaches, the podcast for health coaches and wellness entrepreneurs just like you who are building a business, making the world a healthier place, and designing a first-class life. I'm your host, Kim Foster, MD and certified business coach, and I'm on a mission to help you up-level your strategy and raise your mindset so you can truly thrive and grow your business. Let's get started. Are you an introvert? Now, if you are and you're busy building an online business as a health and wellness coach, you have probably worried about how you're going to market your business. I've heard this from so many new and aspiring coaches. This is a regular conversation that I have with people, and it comes up all the time when I ask people about the biggest struggle in their businesses. It's very, very common for people to tell me that they are an introvert and they're worried that this is going to be an obstacle for them, that it's going to make it really hard to market themselves. So if that sounds familiar, just know that you are definitely not alone. And also, if all of this resonates, then this episode is for you. Now, my guest today is Chen Yen, who is a sought-after national speaker and an expert at helping introverted, visionary, holistic practitioners to attract a steady flow of clients and grow fulfilling 6- and 7-figure practices faster without having to do it the exhausting, extroverted way. Now, Chen came from what she calls the other side, as she describes it, as a pharmacist, and she kept it a secret to herself about what she really thought of drugs, to be honest. And she then started and grew a business from 0 to 7 figures the introverted way in less than 5 years. As the founder of Fill My Holistic Practice, Chen is no longer hiding behind her secret and is excited to be living her passion. So, like I said, if you identify as an introvert and you would love to hear some marketing secrets from someone who specializes in this particular area, then you are definitely going to want to listen. Now, before we get to my conversation with Chen, I just want to tell you about the sponsor for today's episode. Meal Garden. Now, if you haven't heard of it before, Meal Garden is a very flexible meal planning software for health and wellness practitioners. It was designed to improve the way that you communicate and send nutrition information to your clients. It's an easy and efficient way to share professionally curated meals with clients. And one of the things that I love about Meal Garden is that it is constantly being updated. So how it works is this: you just jump onto the platform and quickly find the right meals and recipes. There are filters that will help you to quickly create plans and collections that best suit your clients' goals. And there are over 2,500 recipes in Meal Garden that have been reviewed by a team of health professionals, so you know that you are sending your clients accurate images and ingredients and directions. Now, once you find the meals that you need, from there you can easily create professional collections for your clients. And that saves you so much time. You can customize the plans that you create by adding your logo and changing the fonts and the colors, and then you just go ahead and share with your clients. Each of your clients will have a personalized and secure app accessible from any device. So this is a huge time saver and really allows you to add an additional service to your packages to make them even more appealing for your potential clients. So I'm going to include a special link in the show notes that allows you to try it out for 50% off for the first 3 months. So I really encourage you to give it a go. Okay, without further ado, let's get into my conversation with Chen. Today on the podcast, I am very excited to be chatting with Chen Yen. Chen is a pharmacist by training who now helps holistic health practitioners get their work out into the world by helping them to improve their marketing and attract a steady flow of clients. So welcome to the podcast, Chen.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, I am really looking forward to this conversation. I'm excited to talk to you, about all the things that you know. And I'm really looking forward to discussing the topic of marketing when you're an introvert in particular and getting clients through speaking. I know that this is one of your most requested speaking topics, and I can certainly understand why. There are a lot of us introverts out there. So I can't wait to dive into that. However, I would just love to give my listeners just a bit more context about you first. I'd love to hear a bit more about your story. So, what was the journey that brought you to the work that you're doing now?
So I started out as a pharmacist on Native American reservations, and I really enjoyed the travel, the adventure, and getting to know the different tribes and cultures. But after a little while, I started feeling bit jaded. I remember going to work and I would be I remember this one time I handed this woman her Prozac medication and I just felt so frustrated, not at her, but at what our healthcare system was putting in front of her, as if that were the only option and I was endorsing it. Because the truth was, I grew up in a family that was very conservative when it came to taking medications. And whenever we were sick, my mom might open up the cabinet, pull out some Chinese herbal syrup, and that was about the extent that we'd get. Whereas I would see these little kids come in and they would get immunization shots and then leave with a cocktail of medications like Tylenol and a few other medications, even when they weren't hurting anymore. And also seeing people who were, adults coming in, leaving with bagfuls of 15 to 20 medications, like no big deal, candy. It just drove me crazy.
Yeah.
I'm sure you could relate to
Oh,
that
yes,
being
I
practiced.
can.
Yeah. And so I didn't know what to do at the time. The only thing I thought and had an idea of was, okay, I got to get out of here. So one thing I noticed was that other pharmacists around me were counting down towards retirement in their government jobs, having 15 years and 2 days on their computer screens. And I thought, oh my gosh, that's not a way to live. So I thought, what if I could help pharmacists get into jobs they enjoyed more? So fast forward 5 years, I had started and grown a successful recruiting business, sending pharmacists to different Native American reservations for travel assignments. And we also placed pharmacists in other kinds of settings too. And I used to just think, okay, if I make good money, then I can do what I really cared about outside of work and then everything would be fine. But there's this part of me that still felt like it was misaligned. And after soul searching, I realized that there's this part of me that felt like I was, pretending on some level that, I was selling my soul for people to be on drugs here on one end. And when I actually had a secret life, and I felt like, because I'm actually quite extreme holistic. I still don't own a cell phone, and I can't imagine ever owning one. And so it just, I wanted to see how we can really have our healthcare system be more integrated, and imagine if everyone had the best of both worlds, both the conventional medical system, which is amazing for certain things, and then also the holistic health side of things, the different options that you all listening as health coaches and holistic practitioners are able to offer people. And so I think it's not going to be the drug companies, it's not going to be the insurance companies, it's not going to be the government changing things. And it really starts with you as health coaches, as holistic practitioners, getting the word out about what you do. And when people know about you and are asking for what you can help them with, that's when things will really change. So that's what led me to then help holistic health practitioners, from health coaches to chiropractors, functional medicine practitioners, acupuncturists, coming to us for help with growing their practices. And actually recently we've had more medical doctors and pharmacists just end up coming to us too. And I think more of them are interested in integrative care and functional medicine too. So it's just been really rewarding helping practitioners put structures in place that support growth, and also doing it the introverted way, because it's a lot of these things aren't taught in school, and yet all of a sudden you're out and you're supposed to know how to run a business. It can feel really challenging.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Well, I love that. I love that that was your journey, that you really did a lot of soul searching and realized that you were kind of selling your soul to a certain degree, because it certainly sounds like holistic and integrative approaches are really where you authentically are aligned with. And so now you've created a business that actually helps other people just like you, like-minded people, to really grow their practices. Because you're right. I mean, so well said. The drug companies, the insurance companies, they are not going to be the ones to change this. That's for sure.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, awesome. So let's talk about marketing and, especially like marketing strategies for people who, just like you said, if you consider yourself to be an introvert, marketing, and because I have, many, many people in my community talk about this, that they're, feel like they're not going to be able to be successful or won't be able to get out there and market their businesses because they are introverted, because they consider themselves to be an introvert. And it can feel like it's a struggle. So talk to me about this. What's the problem here? Like, why is this presenting a problem for people?
Well, I think, see, the thing is that did you know 30 to 50% of people are introverts, but most of what's out there, it's like it assumes that you're an extrovert, like in terms of teaching on how to grow a practice and things like that. And it just can feel really exhausting for us introverts. And there are also misconceptions about what it means to be an introvert, too. For example, things like introverts are shy. Well, not all introverts are shy. It's actually one of the distinctions of being an introvert is it's almost like if you were to ask a few of these questions, do you say yes to more of them than others? So do you feel like you'd much rather be by yourself and curl up and read a book than be out there networking with a bunch of people? Like you don't get your energy as much from being around a whole bunch of people or a big room of people you don't know, right? Mm-hmm. Do you sometimes feel like it might take you more time to actually talk and formulate even saying things sometimes? Because this is interesting. They actually study the brains of introvert versus extrovert, and in extroverts they process things more by seeing things and then they react at the same time, kind of thing. Whereas an introvert, there's more of like they see it and then they introspect and then they react after that. And so I remember, for example, when I was younger, I used to feel really inadequate. How sometimes you're put into group situations, whether in school or in different kinds of business functions, and you're supposed to do some kind of project together. Or, have you ever been in those situations before? Yeah. And then so in those situations, have you ever been in a place where it's like other people have answers for everything, and you sometimes wonder, gosh, how come I'm like, for me, I used to think, why am I so slow? How come everybody's already jumping and giving answers and I can't think of anything yet? And I used to think that was actually a poor quality that I had, and I had to work on it until I realized, oh, that's like, it's actually some introverts are like that, right? Like it takes more time to process and they actually might talk slower. And so then another thing about the shy thing that I was going to bring up earlier, actually. So some introverts are shy, but others aren't actually shy. I have a friend of mine who talks so much, and a naturopathic doctor, actually, and no one would guess that he's an introvert. But when you ask him, he's like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so an introvert," right? Because it is where we tend to be more filling ourselves up more by being by ourselves versus other people. And so as such, what does that mean for us in terms of growing a practice, or what does that mean for us? A couple things. One is, instead of feeling like we need to, and also another thing too that I just thought of too, is where it's like, are you ever in situations where you think of something that like the next day that you meant to say the day before?
Yes. Oh my gosh, 100%.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, I was going to say, like, the stuff that you just shared about how you felt when you were younger, that is 100% me. That is exactly my experience too. I vividly remember feeling like I was like, what's wrong with me? Like, why don't I ever say what I, contribute to the conversation? And it wasn't just in group projects, but like socially. I remember hanging out with friends, like standing around on the playground or whatever, and they'd all be chatting and I would just be listening and doing a lot of listening and processing. And of course, I'd always get labeled as like quiet and shy and stuff like that. But I was like, well, I'm just anyway, it's just so interesting to hear you say this because it's really easy to view it as a negative. And I think that a lot of us introverts have grown up with years and years and years of being told you need to come out of your shell, you need to stop being so shy, stop being so quiet, all of this kind of messaging, and you start to make yourself be very wrong for this particular quality. But I think I've come to understand that it's actually a strength. Like I think that you're understanding too, and I think that's maybe where we're headed. But yeah, anyway, carry on. I just wanted to mention
that's so true because we're growing up in a society that values extroverted qualities more than introverted qualities. Just think about when you're in school, the kid who raises their hand first, it's as if they, they know stuff and they're smarter. It's like that kind of perception. And as an introvert, it's can be common for where you might not say very much, and all of a sudden when you speak up in a room, people turn around and look at you.
Yes, it's a big
have
deal.
The attention. Yeah. So that can work for our advantage too, right? So
that's true. It commands attention. That's absolutely true.
Yeah. So yes, in terms of how this relates to marketing and being successful and growing a practice, first thing is to actually look at it as an advantage instead of something that is a disadvantage. And then another is to actually be in embracing of that. What does that mean? So for example, in situations, social situations, or in business conference situations or networking situations, if you don't feel like talking, then don't talk. Don't feel like you have to talk because you're in this environment. You better force yourself to, do those things. Just be more available energetically, being in tune with your energy flow and what makes most sense for you, and then be readily available and to give your energy. And so I think, as an introvert, that's a big thing because imagine if there's a geyser that's just blowing out this huge power of water. But then if that's how it is for us as introverts, but that's a strength, right? But we're trying to imagine something trying to push the energy of that geyser down. That is what happens when we as introverts are going against our natural energy flow, and what happens when we just let it go? Like it just flows and shoots up in a big flow with power. And so I think as introverts, just acknowledging that we don't have to do it the exhausting extroverted way, or also the definition of success as we just need to work with more people and have a high volume kind of a practice or to be successful, not having to think that way. Also,
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it kind of comes down to giving yourself permission to, be the way that naturally you feel aligned with, and not trying to be this, like you say, the exhausting extrovert way. Actually, I'd love to hear a little bit more about that. Like, I think that for the introverts, those of us who are, would know exactly what you mean. But yeah, talk to me a little bit more about the exhausted extrovert way to market your business.
Well, some of the extroverted ways that are, you need to be putting yourself out there all the time. And then, you need to be visible on social media. And, I talk to a lot of introverts, and many times they tell me, they feel like they're pretty private. Right? And so, and then also feeling like you always need to be doing something and being outwardly. And so instead of that, I think one of the most important things as an introvert in growing a successful health coaching practice is to be looking at, what do I really enjoy doing that brings me the biggest leverage, so I don't have to always be putting my energy out there. Because, for example, one approach that our clients are actually doing really well with being able to draw in a consistent flow of clients from is by speaking. And I sometimes hear, well, but wait, speaking and introvert, like how does that go together? And what is true is that we need to do something for marketing, right? And, otherwise people won't know about us. But how can we be the most efficient? And for example, educating people is one of the fastest ways to reach more people at once, so that you don't have to put out your energy out there all the time. You can be selective about it, and then you can even automate it. So I think it's really about aligning with what feels right for you, and not worrying. Like for the longest time, I didn't really post much on social media, and I confess I've only recently got on Instagram, and it's actually more of a playing thing for me, and versus like, oh, this is going to help me grow my business. And we were making quite a bit in our business before we even touch those things. So, and those are things that as an introvert, actually, I think one of the misconceptions right now is just like, okay, you need to be on social media. You just need to do more social media. And then you don't have to. And in fact, one of the things tied in with why I even consider speaking, for example, and even doing it virtually, is because a lot of avenues of attracting clients, it involves having to always be doing something. And then also, if you're posting on social media, or the algorithms are shifting, and it's not the easiest to be seen if you're just posting organically. And then just because you're posting organically, does it actually lead to paying clients all the time? Like, how much energy do you really have to put out there, right, for it to really lead to paying clients? So also, the other thing is that what I've noticed is that the people who, for example, Facebook's becoming a pay-to-play platform. Yeah. And, back in the day, you could literally have a Facebook business page up, and most of the people who liked your business page would see your post. But guess what percentage has been reported lately about the percentage of people who might actually see a business, your post, if you posted on if they like you? It's like 3.5%.
Yeah, so low.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's because, Facebook's smart, and they're a pay to play platform. They got the platform going well, and then now they're charging for advertisers so they can continue to, bring that service to everybody. And guess who bought out Instagram? Facebook. So what I'm saying is that, it's helpful to look at other avenues to bring in paying clients, and also those who are spending money on ads. One thing that this past year has done for ads is, for one, well, there are more companies with big pockets getting into wanting to get in front of people online and through different social media channels too. And so what does that mean for us small business owners? It's like the ad costs are getting driven up because it's an auction platform. So, these are just some of the things that are happening that I think everyone should, be aware of, to look at how can you actually get the word out without having to always be marketing or spending time on social media, or having to post, having to pay for ads. And one of the reasons why people aren't coming yet is because people don't know about you and how you can help them. And especially health coaching. Have you ever had people say things like, oh, health coaching, oh yeah, and I know what to do, and I just need to do it. They have no idea the scope of what you've been trained on and how you could really help them with their health. And so if that's the case, posting even 5 times on social media won't get them interested. But if you can actually educate them more, and they understand, and they are able to see if they resonate with you, they're more likely to actually decide to be your client and pay you for it.
Yeah. Oh, I couldn't possibly agree more. Like, exactly what you said about, how much energy is it going to take to follow that conventional advice of just like, get out there and be more visible and post, why post just 2 times per day? Post 10 times per day. Like it's just
Yes.
how much.
Exhausting.
Yes, it's exhausting. It's exhausting. And, many people have kind of a love-hate relationship with social media anyway, but they buy into this, like you said, this misconception that you have to be like out there and super visible like all the time. And that doesn't work in the way that you think that it's supposed to work. And so I love what you said about, really leveraging your marketing energy. Like if you've got a certain amount of energy that you need to devote to marketing, and of course we have to market our businesses, because if people don't know that what we're doing, and then they're just, of course your business isn't going to work, right? So we have to market our businesses, but like you said, be smart, strategic, get in there, get the most bang for your buck in terms of your own energy and time, and do something that's leveraged, like speaking and educating. So I love this. So tell me a little bit more about, like, what do you recommend? Like how, what's going on right now in terms of like, how could health coaches get, speaking opportunities right now? I mean, of course, our situation is, peculiar the way that things are right now. It's changing pretty rapidly, but, what do you recommend right now for people?
Yes, definitely. Happy to share that. And, it is, I will say I've talked to thousands of practitioners at this point, and in terms of hearing about the insides of their practices and what's working and what's not. And speaking is still hands down the most effective approach that I've heard from, other people, not just even me. and,
Yeah.
and then also people see you in a different limelight. You could post all day long on social media or run ads and that kind of thing. But when you're actually a guest expert, people just see you as a go-to health coach, as a go-to practitioner. So as far as what's working right now, I will say a couple things about what I'm noticing. I would break it down into a couple of key things. One is speaking. This is actually one of my favorite ways, which is actually doing webinar. And the reason for that is because you can reach a lot of people at once. And once it's actually created and it's bringing in paying clients, then you can automate it. So that's one of my favorite ways. Then the second avenue of speaking and doing it virtually without having to leave the house is interviewing people. And so, but what am I talking about? Well, we actually had a client of ours who got a whole bunch of new paying clients from this one approach just by doing this one thing, where she actually interviewed. So she was saying, I think this medical doctor is referring to this other practitioner, not me. And I said, oh, well, why don't we look at interviewing this medical doctor and featuring them as a guest expert? And so she did. And through that relationship, she ended up developing the relationship further, and she ended up getting quite a few referrals all at once and also continuing. And what do I mean by featuring them? So it's like featuring them on a topic that could be beneficial to both your client base and to their patient base. So what happened with this was that he was all excited about it, the medical doctor, and then he shared it with his patient base. And so that automatically increased her reach there. And then she shared it with her client base. And then she also put it up on her website. So it gave her additional credibility too. And then, people would actually, she told me that people would actually comment when she'd call her and say, hey, I saw that interview with you and the medical doctor. And so that's one avenue too, is looking at developing relationships with whether it's medical doctors or other kinds of practitioners, where what you talk about as far as topics and who you help people with, that it aligns well. And so that can be another avenue to help increase the referrals that you get from other practitioners, and you're mutually helping each other's base understand and also learn more from both of you. And so I know at this moment, those of you listening, if you're listening to it, as soon as this is released, it's like, well, maybe there are things that are still limited with in-person kinds of opportunities, but there are places that are opening up more too. And even if you're speaking in front of a small audience, like an audience of 8 or an audience of 10, we've had clients who've actually done talks in front of 10 people and gotten 5 new paying clients from it. And so I think about that, like 5 paying clients, even at $1,500 each, if they're signing up for a package to work with you, that's leverage. So those are a few ways that I've seen is working really well right now to be bringing paying clients in through speaking and educating.
That's brilliant. Yeah, I love that. I love all of those ideas. So yes, webinars, that's great. I love webinars. I'm all about that. And you're right. Like you can do it live and then record it and then set it up as an evergreen once you know that it's working well. And then that your idea about interviewing, like featuring experts, that's super smart. I love how you came up with that idea just off the cuff with your client. That's really clever. So, well, I was curious though, for people who, they maybe don't necessarily have if they don't have a podcast that they can interview people, what do you recommend, like doing Facebook Live or something like that with them, or
Yes, they don't ever have to have a podcast. So they could either do a Facebook Live or they could interview and then put it on YouTube, or do both. Do the interview once and then have it air on YouTube and Facebook Live. And nowadays, even IGTV if you want it to be there. But then you could also be sharing it mainly, even to have on your website could be really nice to help people get a sense of you more than just hopping on a website and seeing something written or just some text or a photo, right? So so those are some avenues to get the word out about it. But when it comes to interviews too, there are opportunities, even if you don't have a specific platform. For example, we've had clients who didn't really have much of a following at all, but then they interviewed the other practitioner, and then they have a following. So then it just automatically ended up getting shared more. So
yeah, absolutely. It has kind of a snowball effect. And you're right about what you'd said earlier about like the authority. You automatically, when you're speaking, even if it's a small group, you automatically get to kind of borrow that authority. It positions you as the expert just naturally, right? So that totally can work in our favor.
Yeah, so we just had a health coach client of ours who did that. I mean, she had a small audience. It was something like, it might have been like 8 people, and it was like an autoimmune support group. And then she ended up getting 2 paying clients, paying over $1,600 and each, and so not bad for half an hour of her time. So yes, and the thing is, one thing that I often hear is, well, I don't know about this speaking thing though, because I get nervous. And I'll say that so I can totally relate to that. So I used to, when I was little, my dad, how when the Sunday paper would come and like there's comics in there, comic strips. Well, I used to be really jealous of other kids. This was when I was around 8, because I used to think, oh, other kids get to just check those comics out. And whereas every Sunday, my dad, he was a research scientist, PhD engineer, and first generation immigrant from Taiwan, really strict. So he made me do a current event talk every week. And I was mortified because I had felt so much performance anxiety. My dad was very critical of me. Because he's very analytical. So he actually speaks in a very different style than I do. So then I would cry every single week. It was that traumatic for me. And I used to think, I will never speak when I grow up. Like that would be the last thing on earth I'd ever do, is to be in front of any audience, because it was too embarrassing. And so the only reason I decided to speak was because I enjoyed teaching. When I was little, what was fun for me was just in 3rd grade, I would go to my 3rd grade teacher and get worksheets from her, and then I would go and teach the kids in the neighborhood. That was my idea of fun. Yeah, and so that was what led me to think, you know what, I love teaching and I can learn this thing. But I will say, when I ended up investing in mentors that taught me how to do that. But I would say some of my very first ones, I was so nervous and I was terrible at it. I remember just, that feeling where you're just shaking, and then you also feel like what comes out of your mouth doesn't make sense at all. And I mean, for me, I'm not exaggerating. It really didn't make any sense. And then I felt like I wanted to hide under a rug and I could just disappear. Like that was how bad it was. And so if I could go from that place to actually being able to learn it and speak cohesively and being asked to speak on national stages now, then you all can totally do it too. And the truth is, you don't actually have to be even super eloquent. It's just a matter of having an important message to say, also having some structure that not only educates but also inspires new paying clients to come from it. Because it's a totally different skill set to just educate people versus to also be able to bring in paying clients from it too. So.
Yeah, I love that. And thank you for sharing that, because I think that a lot of people are going to be reassured by that. Like, that sounds like your early experiences at speaking were pretty extreme and pretty traumatic. So if you can come back from that and now speak on big stages, then yes, anyone can learn the skill. It really is a practice, right? It's a skill and it's a muscle like anything. But you have to be willing to take those first baby steps, definitely.
Mm-hmm. And so if you just feel like there's something that you can share with people that would really help people, then you can totally do it. And you can do it in front of, even 5 people or 10 people. You're helping more people at once that way. Yeah. And then grow from there.
All right. Well, we're just about out of time, and this has been so great. I could seriously continue talking to you about this for so long, but and really, it's such an important topic for people to hear about, and definitely can make like a huge difference for many of my listeners' businesses, I'm sure. So I definitely appreciate you sitting down to chat with me and just share all of these valuable nuggets with my listeners. But before we go, where can my listeners go to learn more about you and your work?
Yeah, so I think one of the things that is really key in terms of being able to educate people and then be able to inspire new clients to come from it is a lot of health coaches make the mistake of going straight to, okay, let me get booked. This sounds good, and I'm going to go get booked for a talk, and let me go do a talk or an interview, and I can do this. I can come up with a webinar, and then trying it and being like, oh, this is not working. And so it's really about most people go straight to the second step, which is about, okay, how can I get booked or how can I get an audience without paying attention to the first step. And so it's really important about, do you have the right angle of a topic? And then do you actually have a talk that, like I mentioned before, that not only educates people, but it also inspires new paying clients to come from it, because it's just a totally different skill set than just speaking. We had a client of ours who before he worked with us, he would do talks and he enjoyed them, but then and people would actually say, oh, that was such a great talk, so helpful, and he'd be beaming all excited, and then like no paying clients from it, and he started to feel like free public service after a while. And so then after we worked on it, his next one he did 50 people, 26 paying clients from it.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm. And so it's not that it's just because he had the structures, and he also ended up having what I call just one signature talk. So a mistake that I see a lot of health coaches make is come up with different topics, and then but not really having one that's really, really strong, and that also brings in paying clients for it. So what I'm an advocate of is just doing one talk, getting one signature talk in place that brings in paying clients, and doing it over and over again in front of different audiences. And so then comes the where, because the where makes a big difference. You could be speaking in front of one audience, and it's a great audience, and speaking in front of another audience, and it doesn't amount to paying clients also. So I decided to put together a top 10 best places to speak and get paying clients quick start guide. And then it's really looking at what have been the most effective ones for our clients who are doing really well with this, and getting anywhere from I'd say 5 to 26 new clients a month through this method. And so I decided to give that to those of you listening to this, and also the interview script too. That, remember I mentioned about interviewing other practitioners? Well, what do you actually say, and what can help develop a relationship further to help us also be attracting more referrals from that. So we decided to put that in a script for y'all to be able to download. And so you can go to www.getbookedspeaking.com/podcast. www.getbookedspeaking.com/podcast. And if you're in a place where you're in a plateau in your practice, you just know you're capable of more, and you would love to be busier with paying clients and have a consistent flow of clients, then feel free to also request a free session with us, and happy to give you insight on your biggest frustrations in your practice and how we can help you grow faster.
That's perfect. Oh, that sounds so great. Those are some useful resources for sure. I will link that in the show notes, definitely. So yes, definitely go and check that out. That sounds amazing. Well, thank you so much, Chen. This has been terrific. And yeah, have an amazing rest of your day.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, so there you have it. I hope that you enjoyed that conversation as much as I did. Chen had a ton of wisdom and some really great ideas for all of us introverts out there. And I would really love to hear your thoughts about this one. Do you identify as an introvert? Did this episode help you to see that it doesn't have to be an obstacle to overcome and that it does not have to hold you back as you market your business? Let me know by finding me on Instagram. I'm at Dr. Kim Foster, and tag me in a post or send me a DM. I'm always keen to hear from listeners. Also, if you've been a regular listener of this podcast and you haven't left me a rating or a review yet, I would really appreciate it if you would just take a couple of minutes to do that. It really means a lot to me, and of course, it helps other people find and listen to this podcast. So, one final announcement before you go, and that's to let you know, if you weren't aware, that we are now enrolling for the September class of my training and certification program inside the Wellness Coach Academy. And we have a big back to school promotion happening right now, which includes the best pricing we have ever offered on this program and likely will ever offer. So if you're feeling stuck in a job that does not light you up and you are passionate about wellness and helping other people, and you've been craving the true freedom that comes with running your own coaching business, then I would love for you to check out my certification program and then join us when the class starts at the end of September. The Wellness Coach Academy includes everything you need to become a masterful women's wellness coach and all the business training you need to actually build your business and achieve the success you want. If you're done with working hard to build somebody else's dream and you're ready to say yes to freedom, to waking up every day knowing you're making a difference in the lives of others, then I would love for you to check out the Wellness Coach Academy, because it will help you achieve exactly that. And like I said, our special back to school pricing is only in effect until September the 17th, so you do not want to delay. Again, I'll put the link inside the show notes, or you can just simply head over to wellnesscoachacademy.com right now and learn everything you need to know. All right, that's a wrap for today. As always, I hope that you enjoyed this episode. Have an amazing week, and I will talk to you again very soon. Thank you so much for tuning in today. Now, if you enjoyed this episode and you are excited to learn even more about how to pursue a career as a health and wellness coach, I would love to invite you to attend my free online class called How to Chart a Path to Your Dream Career as a Wellness Coach: the 3 secrets for stepping into a meaningful new career without wasting time or money. This class is especially for women who are interested in becoming wellness coaches and building a freedom-based business, but aren't sure how to get there and what to do first. Inside this workshop, I'll be teaching you the 3 biggest myths about health and wellness coaching that will hold you back and what the truth is instead. And I will also teach you the most important thing that you need to do to get transformative results for your clients, which will enable you to build a profitable business as a wellness coach and step into this incredible career. So if that sounds like something that you need to attend, then I invite you to grab a spot in this class. Head over to drkimfoster.com/become a coach, and that's where you can reserve your seat. All the info is on that page, everything you need to know, and you can just go ahead and choose the time that works for you. And then I will see you there.